I was in the kitchen making breakfast, and all of a sudden, my left side got weak, and I was about to go down, and I managed to hold myself up on the cabinet. And the next thing I remember is my phone ringing and waking me up.
The person calling Evelyn Cartwright was her daughter, Ebony.
Couldn't really understand what she was saying, so I decided I would just get over there as quickly as possible, find out what was going on.
When Ebony arrived, she found her mother on her bed, unable to move.
When I got there, I could tell something was definitely wrong, like she was a lot weaker than usual, again with the slurred speech.
She immediately rushed her to the ER. As it was during COVID, she wasn't allowed to go in.
I was extremely worried that she had possibly had a stroke, and really worried about having to leave her there and not knowing what was going to happen.
After running a CT scan and other tests, the doctors told Evelyn she'd had a stroke. But there was more.
He said, "But did you know that you had 2 strokes prior to this?" And I'm like, "No way, no. I had absolutely no idea." So this was stroke number 3, not stroke number 1.
The hardest thing for family members was the few updates they were able to get from doctors, since they had little contact with them.
Of course, I did start praying, and of course the family was involved, so I think we were all praying at the time that everything would be okay. Definitely get a lot of peace out of it, but it was still really worrisome just knowing that we couldn't see her while all this was going on.
Just 2 years before, Evelyn had another major health scare, a brain tumor, which she says God healed through prayer.
I just started thinking, well, if he did that, then surely he can do this. He can help me through this. I had people in so many different states praying for me.
Evelyn would spend 2 days in the hospital before being transferred to rehab.
I could barely speak above a whisper. My left hand was totally paralyzed. It was clasped shut. I couldn't open my hand. And my left side was so weak I couldn't stand up, so I was confined to a wheelchair.
In rehab, Evelyn had to relearn how to talk, walk, and regain the mobility in her hands and arms. Not knowing if she would fully recover, friends from church, family, and even some of the hospital staff prayed.
One of the nurses walked into the room when a friend of mine was praying for me on the phone, and she came and sat down beside me and bowed her head and began to pray with us.
In rehab, Evelyn not only prayed hard, she worked hard.
I really wanted to recover, and so to me, that just goes with your faith without works. You know, you need to do as much as you can do to help yourself too.
While there, Evelyn made sure she wasn't the only one receiving prayer.
I had a chance to pray for one aide that had a daughter that had some issues with her shoulder after she was born. So she told me that she believed God after I shared my testimony of the brain tumor with her.
It wasn't long before Evelyn turned the corner.
The therapist came in and said, "You know, you've made more progress in 3 days than most of our patients make in a whole week."
After 2 weeks, she went home showing no signs of stroke. The hospital sent her home with a wheelchair, but to date, it's still in the box.
I don't believe I would still be here if it was not for the healing power of God. He says in his word that he wants us to prosper and be in health, even as our soul prospers. So he wants us to be in health. He wants us to have good health. And he also told us that he died on the cross for our health, for our healing. With his, by his stripes we're healed. So I just believe that healing is available to anybody that has faith enough to believe that God can do it for them.
I've always believed in prayer, but this was another instance to show me that the power of prayer is real.
Since I've had a brain tumor and 3 strokes, there's a purpose that I'm still here. God has all the power, and God has the final say so. No matter what plans the enemy has, God's plans are greater, and God's plans win.